Tell you one school that was looking for anarchy would be your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as if Michigan had somehow lost, or if Alabama had gotten blown out, or if Cincinnati had lost, your Fighting Irish would have made the playoff for sure, as they're knocking on the door at number 5. I'm sure you've got some thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just expected Alabama to lose. Georgia's defense has been incredible all season. And after what Auburn did to them, I'm like, this is going to be, the only difference is Georgia has a functioning offense. So
they were a 6.5 point favorite going into the game. I mean, everyone thought that, and it's like, we're all just fools.
Yeah, this game is going to be, it's going to be kind of a beatdown for a Georgia-Alabama game, and it was.
It started out 10-0. Yeah,
we just went the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Saban did over the week, but sure woke his guys up.
He does it every time to everybody, to Georgia specifically. I mean, Georgia just cannot get over the Alabama hump no matter what happens. And like you said earlier, I fear that we're gonna just have to watch that again in a month or so.
I mean,
the national championship game.
I'd rather, I hate to say this because I know I'm positive they can't beat them, but I'd rather see Michigan, Alabama, or in the championship.
My two least favorite teams besides Notre Dame, maybe.
Yeah, but at least just because like you said, Alabama has a way of just kind of owning Georgia at this point, and I guess Georgia, when you lose the game and you're going for the rematch and it's that close, the losing team, in a weird way, kind of has the advantage because they're the ones who are going to worry about making changes. Where the team that won will be kind of like, why don't we go out there and do what we do?
The same thing, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sure a ton of people will watch it. I've become less and less interested in this. Now, if Cincinnati can somehow work some magic and do what would be deemed the impossible, and kind of really the great thing about Cincinnati doing something would be, it's kind of be an embarrassment to the committee who kind of had to begrudgingly, I think, put them as the number 4 team. So that would be interesting to see. But since everything kind of went as is, except for the Alabama, when Notre Dame is on the outside looking in, might be better in the long run. Because of course we lost our head coach, and Notre Dame quickly they had a list of candidates.
We had a list of candidates, and by the time I put the podcast out, they had hired a guy we never even talked about.
Yeah, well, they took 35-year-old African-American defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman, formerly of Cincinnati, for 4 years of defensive coordinating over there. And made him the new head coach of Notre Dame on a 4-year, $2.5 million a year contract.
Seems to be an insanely popular move. I have seen no negative press about this. He seems like a charismatic, awesome coach. It seems like the Notre Dame brand has gotten a million times cooler in the week's time by losing.
It is unbelievable how losing Brian Kelly has managed,
and his family
with their, I hope that loan went through for their house so they could afford to buy something.
Savings and loan.
He left, and there's a lot of question marks, but it looks like Notre Dame has solidified it quite quickly by losing that Southern gentleman.
All right, we can lose the Southern accents now.
Yeah, but Freeman, I think that it's a super popular move. He's young. I mean, he's probably the youngest. I think he is the youngest hire they've ever had at 35 years old.
Yeah.
What's even crazier where this story got kind of crazier was Reese was apparently like, Kelly's like, let's go. You're coming to LSU with me. Their offensive coordinator, Tommy Reese, former quarterback in Notre Dame. And then he's like, nah, I think I'm just going to stay and work with this coaching staff here. So that's a bit of a blow, an unexpected thing for Kelly. So now he's got to worry about hiring an offensive coordinator. What I got excited about when he was hired before any of the games happened was the idea of the Notre Dame making the playoff and then actually winning a playoff game. Yeah. The first one without even just one, not winning the championship game, just winning one playoff game would have immediately trumped anything Kelly had done.
Yeah,
as the head coach in one swoop. But instead, we get the Fiesta Bowl, and while you and I were pulling for this podcast for the Michigan State Notre Dame matchup, because
I'll get into that in a minute.
It's a storied rivalry that has gone away due to dollars and cents and TV contracts, and I think Notre Dame's the one who pulled it off the schedule, so they're to blame for it.
You're to blame for sure.
Well, Notre Dame looked at their schedule and then said, we don't have as many layup games in a normal schedule as other teams. So that's why they did it. I think it's a terrible move, but whatever. In fact, if they had played Michigan State and Michigan this year and won both of those games, they'd be in the freaking playoffs probably right now.
Lost themselves.
So anyway, they only have themselves to blame for that. Athletic director, was it Swybeck or something like that? Anyway. But the reason I like this matchup against Oklahoma State is because it was kind of debated on here and it was debated in the playoffs. And like, did Oklahoma State had a better schedule. They deserve to be ahead of Notre Dame. And now, we'll see really who is the better team. Is Notre Dame a better football team than Oklahoma State? And it's also another measuring stick for Notre Dame. Like, where do they stand? We know where they seem to stand against Alabama, and then teams like Georgia and Alabama. But where do they stand against like a Big 12 powerhouse now? So another good measuring stick for them. It'd be great to see in his first coached game in a bowl game for Freeman to walk away with the victory, and that would be impressive, and that would be helpful for recruiting purposes too. So far the 2022 class remains intact. No one's pulled out at the announcement of Kelly leaving, so we'll see. The more to come on that. I'm sure there's plenty of time for people to decommit or whatever. I think they would lose a year of eligibility right now if they did that. But
I don't know what the rules are about that at this time.
Something like that at this point in the game. But
you've got transfer portal things. There's lots of situations.
There's lots of situations. So hopefully that class remains intact, and in the shadow of what seems sort of like grim and ridiculous, I feel like Notre Dame, as to your point in a very weird way, has become likable to a lot of people who don't like them suddenly.
I have to raise my hand there. I mean, I'm in that boat. I have personal things against Brian Kelly for doing similar things to my alma mater, Central Michigan University, 15 years ago. So he's also just not a very likable guy in general. And immediately Marcus Freeman is 1,000 times more likable. You can tell his players are 100% on board. I mean, the hype videos they're doing in his first meeting with the team as head coach, where, I mean, it gives you chills almost how fired up they are. But I mean, all of it, I guess none of it matters if they don't go out and win games. And
right. You could have the most fun coach on the planet that everyone loves, but who cares? I mean, I'll be honest. I'd rather have a freaking asshole and have a championship at the end of the day. So, I mean,
Brian Kelly determined on his own that he was unable to do that at Notre Dame and moved to purpler pastures, as we put it last week. And I think he might find himself mistaken. Well, I guess we'll find out. It's going to be a fun test to see. And I have no love for Oklahoma State, so I'll be rooting for the Golden Domers.
Whoa, that should have been the lead. It should have been the lead story. Forget the playoff. Smitty rooting for the Domers should have been the lead on tonight's podcast.
Well, you tried to put my Spartans in the top 6, so I appreciate that. So I'll return the favor by rooting for you guys New Year's Day.
Word Hole Media.